Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donohue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donohue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. Today's creep, not as creepy as they usually are, which is a good thing. We wanted to do something a little more lighthearted than, the murdering and the essaying all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, if you find racism and homophobia to be... But you know what I mean.
Yeah, y'all know what I mean.
Yes.
As we go along. It's just not one of the darker ones.
Yes.
Right. It won't haunt you like some of our episodes.
Unless you've seen a sex tape, that might haunt you.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you. Was that Bubba the Love Sponge who was his wife? Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that. We'll get into that in this show. Here's the thing. We talk about creeps in the past and the present, and we end the show with somebody who is not a creep. And we have a really good list today for not creepy charities to contribute to. For all the folks in the LA area, we're thinking about you. They've had a lot of fires in Northern California. Sonia has good friends that lost their home up in, was it Paradise, California?
Yeah, it was up in Paradise. And I have a lot of friends down in Southern California who have been evacuated. And it's really, really scary down there. And there's been bananas winds and it's blowing the fire everywhere, which is why it's spreading so fast and it's really scary. And we just want everyone to be safe. Mm-hmm. And we're looking for ways to help like we always do. So,
but if you're looking for like something to take your mind off of the fires and the misery, we hope we can help you with that.
We got you.
We got your back. But we're always looking for suggestions for our creeps and non-creeps. So you could find us. We're on Facebook. We'll see how long this conversation might be completely shortened by the ones that social media we don't follow anymore. But as of right now, in the year of our Lord, 2025, January, we have a private Facebook group. We have a public fan page, but that's where people go to complain about our language. This is your warning. We use salty language in this program. And today's creep is a total asshole. So there you go. I got that out of the system.
Shit, fuck, damn.
There you go. We have a private Facebook group. You type in What a Creep podcast group, ask to join, answer the questions. The most important one is promise not to be a creep when you're in the podcast group on Facebook. And we'll let you come on in. And it's a nice, for now, we've been keeping it a really nice, safe space for people to hang out, for our peeps to hang out. We're on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Those might be gone at What a Creep Podcast. And we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And Sonia,
yes.
Can you tell them about the website?
Yeah, go to whatacreeppodcast.com and it's everything you want to know about the podcast, but we're afraid to ask. You can open up each of those little blog posts and you'll see our show notes because we source everything we do. We're not making any of this stuff up. We want to give people credit for the work they do. So if you want to do a deeper dive on our creeps, fabulous place to start. And it's just a great place to find us because social media is a little all over the place right now. So if you're like, maybe I don't want to be on Facebook, you could go there if you want to, but maybe we need to bring MySpace back. I don't know, and figure out like where we're going to
Napster while we're there.
Yeah. In the meantime, though, whatever's going on at Facebook does not impact our group because we are all very good about fact checking ourselves there, and we have a no assholes policy. So anyway, do that. There's Also on our website, there is a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and journals and all kinds of fun stuff. And we have our logo and we have our maybe next year, which never goes out of style. And there's a link to our Patreon. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon. You type What a Creep podcast and ask to join, sign up for us. You can sign up for free because occasionally we put clips there for free. But that's where we have our first 9 season, and that's only for Patreon members. And we have some really good shows there. And then we also put out 2 bonus episodes a month, and that's where Sonia and I basically shoot the shit. We just talk about stuff in the news and like brief, more bite-sized creepitude. We kind of go through that. Yes. And that's on our Patreon wall. And I want to thank Carolyn and Cynthia, who recently signed up for that.
Thanks.
Thank you both very, very much. And I think that's it, Sonia. Did I mention everything?
I think so. Oh, and our email, what a creep
Did I
podcast
not
at
say that?
gmail.com. I don't think so.
We have an
You can
old-time email,
us.
whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. So you can email us your suggestions. That's actually probably always going to be, that will always be there. So that's a great place to reach out. You want to reach out to us. Somebody sent me a really nice note last week asking for stickers. If you'd like some stickers, we will drop the mail for you and I will reply to your email. I just forgot about it the other day. Okay, Sonia.
Yes. Let's
Who
do
is
it.
our
Are you
creep
ready?
today? Yes.
All right. Are you ready to talk about Hulk Hogan, brother? Okay. We are going to do that. Trigger warning, racism and homophobia. Sources, biography, E! Online, MSN, People Magazine. We love our People Magazine. Rolling Stone, The Sportster, and Wikipedia. Hulk Hogan was the biggest wrestling star of the 80s. You probably, even if you're like, I don't watch wrestling, you probably know who Hulk Hogan is, or you could at least recognize him, right? It's like blonde hair that appeared to be receding even when he was very young, like handlebar mustache, tends to get really red when he's all worked up. He was everywhere in the 80s. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, TV Guide, People. He had his own Saturday morning cartoon show. He was the most requested celebrity of the 80s for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. He had a run of movies in the 90s or 80s and the early 90s, like Mr. Nanny.
That's the only one I'm aware of.
Like Suburban Commando, stuff like that. I've never seen his movies, so I can't speak to their quality, but I have a feeling I know that they're not very good.
He's no Dwayne Johnson.
He is no Dave Bautista.
Right.
He is mainly known nowadays for lying, his leaked sex tape that was filled with racist and homophobic rants. He's one of Predator Trump's few quote-unquote celebrity endorsements. What a creep. So we're going to start at the beginning. Terry Jean Bolea.
Sure.
That's his real name. It is. I looked it up, even how to pronounce it. Bolea. Born August 11th, 1953 in Augusta, Georgia. His family moved to Florida when he was a little baby, so he's mainly Florida.
Florida makes sense. That tracks. And we like our Florida listeners, by the way. We love our Florida listeners and our Texas listeners. We love you, but y'all got some weird shit going on.
Yeah, actually, if you saw like a picture of him, he is like Florida man.
Yeah.
Like there definitely is that look about him. He's the youngest son of Pete, a construction foreman, and Ruth. She was a homemaker and a dance instructor. He got into wrestling in high school. He loved to watch it. This would be in like the early 70s, like late 60s, early 70s. There was like a wrestling star named Dusty Rhodes that he loved to watch. But he was also a musician. He played the bass.
Really?
I did not know this. Yes. And he played and several different like Florida-based bands at the time. He went to the University of South Florida, but he dropped out pretty early on because his band, which was called Ruckus, was the name of his band.
That's a good name.
Got a little traction in Tampa Bay. And so he was like, I'd rather be in my band than
in college.
Go to school.
I would rather do that too. Yes.
Yeah, totally valid. So the music gigs started to take up more of his time, so he dropped out. While performing with his band, he met these two wrestlers. So Jack and Gerald Briscoe, they're two brothers who used to wrestle like in the Florida region, I guess. They were like a tag team. And during his spare time, he would work out at the local gym that they owned. So that's how he started to get to know
that beautiful body of his.
Yes, that's how he got that beautiful body, and it's how he started to meet.
He looks
all
great,
these other wrestlers. He's a super asshole, and he's super strong. He's got his big muscles, whatever. Encouraged by these two brothers, he got into wrestling. He started doing like little wrestling gigs on the smaller circuits, and then he started training with this Japanese wrestler named Hiro Matsunda. And this was just a man who was known for training wrestlers in the Championship Wrestling from Florida group, like this big wrestling group.
Right.
Okay, so during the first session, Hero broke Hulk Hogan's leg.
Oh, God.
After 10 weeks of rehab, Hogan returned to train with him, and the dude tried to break his leg again.
Sweep the leg, Johnny.
Sweep the leg!
Put him in a body bag.
What the fuck? You know, people, because
The Karate Kai on the side.
I don't watch wrestling. It's not for
Cobra
me.
Kai, sorry.
Cobra Kai. I know a lot of people who love wrestling, and like, it's just not my jam. But like, and people will be like, well, it's fake and it's this and it's that. And it's like, you could still get really hurt.
Oh,
And
absolutely. They ruin their bodies.
Yes. So just keep that, like, he's doing all these things, and it's like, but you could get really, really hurt. And it is important to like train and be strong and hit your marks and all those things, because people could get really, really hurt. So yeah, he tried to break his leg again, because that dude sounds like an asshole. And so for years, like, Hogan bounced around from like different wrestling orgs to other orgs. And I'm not going to list them all, because
But there
then
were a
we'd
lot
be
of
here all day.
regional. It was very regional.
Yes.
Yes. So it was
Yes.
around North America. You could go to these different wrestling.
Yes.
places. Yeah. And they were all competing with each other.
Yes.
Because we talked
Exactly.
about not Jim McMahon.
Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon. That's it. Jim McMahon was the
Ed,
football player.
we talked about Ed McMahon.
Oh, we did.
No,
just
it's
kidding.
Vincent McMahon. So speaking of, in 1979 is when Vince McMahon like saw Hulk Hogan and was like, And at the time, you know, he's the promoter, owner of the World Wrestling then known as the Federation. Eventually it was changed to Entertainment. So the WWE. And that's the most prominent wrestling league in the Northeast at the time. Now it's like worldwide
Everywhere,
or
yeah.
something. But yeah. So he gave Hulk Hogan like an opportunity to join. And because Hulk Hogan, by the way, he was still going by like, what was his name again? Terry Bollea at the time. But it was Vince McMahon's idea that was like, you kind of look like the Incredible Hulk. So you should be Hulk. And then for some reason, McMahon's like, and I want you to be Irish. So Hogan. And he actually wanted Hulk Hogan to like dye his hair red. And Hulk Hogan's like,
And
no,
dance
my
around
hair's
with
like,
shamrocks all around
yeah, I
him.
don't know. And he's like, do-de, do-de, do.
Oh, my Lucky
You know.
Charms.
I don't know what the deal was, but Hulk Hogan's like,
Magically delicious.
my hair's already falling out. I'm not doing that. So he's like, I'm blonde. So hence the name Hulk Hogan. He made his debut in a bout with Andre the Giant, who maybe we've talked about before.
I don't think he was a creep.
No, is a non-creep. I think we
he's
might have talked
beloved.
about.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
was
so
beloved. Yeah.
And he won the match, and that like made him like really very famous around the country with wrestling fans. And that's when he caught the attention of Sylvester Stallone, who then cast him in Rocky 3, which is how I found out about Hulk Hogan, because I used to watch Rocky 3 all the time because it was on HBO like every day.
Right.
And if you asked me what my favorite Rocky is, I would tell you it's Rocky 3.
Is Rocky 4 the one that has Apollo?
Dolph Lundgren.
And it has James Brown?
Yes,
That's the
that's
one I
Rocky
like.
4.
That's the one I like.
Yeah. Rocky 4 is he fights Dolph Lundgren, and it's like he takes on the Russians. Rocky 3 is he fights Mr. T.
And Sylvester Stallone is a Trumper. And
Yes.
Trump likes Russia. So this is all starting to make sense.
Yes, it all ties together. So after Rocky 3, because Rocky 3, by the way, huge hit. Those Rocky movies used to make a shit ton of money. That's when like Hulk mania like takes over. That's when this whole thing starts. So he draws a lot of attention to professional wrestling. Also, on top of that is MTV, and like Cyndi Lauper is like really into the wrestling thing, and she's using the wrestlers in her videos and all that stuff. And so now professional wrestling is becoming like more mainstream. And so we're talking like 83 and 84, we get like Hulkamania, I think is what they were calling it. And it was just this weird, he would just do all of this stuff, and he was like, everything was about like, he would give this like lifestyle advice. He's like, make sure you train and say your prayers and eat vitamins and believe in yourself, and you too could be a wrestler, brother, all this kind of thing. And then he had like his exaggerated like rituals in the ring, and his like signature moves and all that stuff. And he just becomes like the face of professional wrestling. And as it like moves into the pop culture, then you get like rock and wrestling on MTV, and there's all these pay-per-view events. And like in total, like Hulk Hogan becomes like a 12-time world champion, like 6 times with the WWE and another 6 times with the World Championship Wrestling. And also during that time is when he meets Linda, and they were married in December 1983. And then they have 2 children, Brooke and Nick. And we're going to talk a little bit about them in a little bit. A few other things in the 80s. There was Richard Belzer, the Bells.
I remember the Bells.
Yeah, he used to have a talk show, and he had Hulk Hogan on, and Hulk Hogan put him in a chokehold and caused him to pass out.
And cut his head open.
Yes.
Live. It was like live on TV. Yeah.
Yes. And Belzer sued, and they settled out of court.
And he said, that's why I have a home in the south of France. That's what he would do that all the time.
I love Richard Belzer.
He was the best. The Bells was the best.
We love him. Yeah. And also during this time, he was very active with like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is great. We point out when our creeps do good things, on the cover of all these magazines, the Sports Illustrated TV Guide, People, the cartoon that he had on Saturday mornings. I didn't watch it, but he was on the Tonight Show, and then he ends the 80s like in Hollywood. He makes a movie called No Holds Barred. He does another one called Suburban Commando. He does Mr. Nanny. He does one called Santa with Muscles. I've never seen any of these. So there's all of that. But then he kind of stepped away from wrestling in the 90s because it was revealed that he used steroids. You don't say. What a surprise.
What about Mark McGuire? No way.
No way. So he actually took the we have a whole episode about Vince McMahon, but Hulk Hogan took the stand in a trial against Vince McMahon about like that he was giving illegal steroids to wrestlers, and like Hulk Hogan's like, yeah, I did take steroids. It was fairly common. He was pretty blunt about it, but it wasn't a big surprise because I mean, if you look at pictures, you're like, yeah,
it's roid rage that he's feeling.
Yeah. And he did lie about it. Like he would just, at the height of Hulkmania, right? He was like, it's all about training and saying your prayers and eating vitamins and all these things. And you too could be big and strong. And like people hate that shit when you lie, right? It's like now we have a lot of celebrities that are using Ozempic, and that's Ozempic.
I love that song, and now it's making me crazy because I think I'm going to watch that commercial. It's just people walking in the park.
It's stuck in my head.
Pointing at trees and like.
It's stuck in my head sometimes. I just say it for no reason. Just
that was
to the
genius
dogs.
On their part.
Ozempic.
That was genius on their part, the drug maker, and it's genius on the band that put out that song. The songwriter, whoever put that out, because that's hard cash coming in.
It's catchy. But like now celebrities use Ozempic, and then they're like, I'm just eating right and exercising. And you're like, no,
you're not eating because you're on Ozempic.
Yeah. And it's like, again, do whatever you want with your body, but don't pretend that you're doing something else. So it pissed people off. So at this time, he kind of takes a step back from wrestling, and he starts getting into like endorsements. So now he's like, he invests into like restaurants. There's a bunch of restaurants in Florida. He had a blender called the Hulk Hogan Thunder Mixer. Buy my energy drink, brother.
I'll make you a smoothie. You want a smoothie?
You want a smoothie, brother?
What protein powder do you like? Pea? I'll make a pea powder.
So he starts doing all of that. And then, so like we had the Osbournes, the reality show, The Osbournes.
Which was great.
So after the Osbournes, but before the Kardashians, we had Hogan Knows Best, which is Hulk Hogan did a reality show in the early 2000s. I think it was 2005 to 2009.
4 years of that?
4 years.
Jesus.
Believe it or not. 4 years. So it was about like the daily lives of Hulk Hogan, his wife, Linda, and then their 2 children. They were teenagers at the time, Brooke and Nick. I never watched that show. Did you?
Nor
watch
did
it?
I. No, I didn't. Watch
I saw clips of it on Talk Soup or
yes,
The Soup
that's how
or
I got
whatever
that.
on
That and the Kardashians. That's how I learned about them.
Yeah, I didn't watch that one. But so it ran for 4 seasons. But during that time, like all kinds of shit went wrong. So like it was revealed that like he was cheating on Linda. Like Nick was involved in a very serious car accident where he was under the influence and actually left his passenger, his friend John, with like lifelong brain damage from this accident.
Oh, wow.
Nick ended up pleading no contest to felony reckless driving. He did an 8-month prison sentence. Linda filed for divorce. They had been married for 24 years at that point because she was saying that he was cheating. He says he wasn't.
I call bullshit on him.
She won a very hefty divorce settlement, which makes me think she had proof.
Receipts, timelines, emails,
screenshots. She had everything. She received 70% of the couple's assets, 40% ownership of the companies. He ended up paying her $3 million for a property settlement. She received almost $8 million of the $10 million that they had in the bank and investment accounts. Like
she did
really well.
Now, so you have to be with Hulk Hogan for 24 years, have sex with him, and birth his children. So there's a trade-off.
Not worth it to me, but you do you, Linda. So after the divorce, they're not doing the show anymore, obviously, because shit went horribly wrong. But they did have a spin-off show that was Brooke Knows Best, which was the oldest daughter and like her attempt to have a singing career.
Bless her heart.
Yes, which was funded by her father's money, and it didn't really work out. And
we only have the $2 million left.
Yeah, and she's not really talking to the family anymore from what I've seen and the things I've read. Like she did defend him for quite a long time, and she now doesn't really follow any of them on Instagram. She's trying to lead a private life.
Good for her.
Yeah, and I was like, that's probably the healthy thing to do. So, so Hulk Hogan gets divorced. He loses a lot of his money, and now he doesn't have his reality shows. But don't worry, he learned to love again and again. He got married to someone named Jennifer McDaniel in December 2010. They divorced 12 years later. Then he married a yoga instructor named Sky Daly. That can't be her real name, but maybe it is.
Ground Weekly is my name.
Yeah. She is 25 years younger than him.
Sure.
And they were married in September 2023. So not too long ago.
They're newlyweds, Sonia.
They're practically newlyweds. Yeah. So I think that means he's 71 and she's,
do math.
Yeah. And so she's like in her 40s or something. So
she'll outlive him still.
For sure. So, okay. Now here's the part where we all like take care of yourselves because try not to vomit. We have to talk about the sex tape. So in 2006, Hulk Hogan was videotaped because it was videotaped back then, having sex with someone named Heather Clem. Now, Heather Clem was the then wife of radio personality Bubba the Love Sponge, which is a real name I did not make up.
Oh, yeah. I used to pitch radio stations for interviews for people, and I think that's the Tampa market. That show was very, very popular. Like you wanted to get your people on his show.
Yeah. So he was on the show all the time.
Mm-hmm. They were friends.
And both Hogan and Clem claimed that they were unaware that they were being filmed. Hulk Hogan was their friend. Like, he was on the show all the time. He was a family friend. He actually served as the best man at their wedding, which was a year after this sex tape was filmed. Apparently they had like kind of a open thing.
Oh.
And so I didn't know any of this. So Hulk Hogan went on the Howard Stern show and he said that, like, yes, like, you know, he slept with Heather. Yes, he did, because you could see the tape. And he did it with Bubba's blessing and encouragement, because he was so burned out from the trauma of his upcoming divorce that he finally gave in to the relentless come-ons from Heather. Like, fine, I'll fuck you. Like,
fine, I'll take my blue pill.
Yeah.
Put it in a smoothie. I'll be ready in about an hour.
Yes. Where's my blender? Let me make a smoothie, brother, and then I'll fuck your wife. So it turns out Bubba was filming it without at least his consent, without Hulk Hogan's consent. She says she didn't know either. Maybe she didn't know. I don't know. Who knows?
It sounds like Bubba's seen her fuck other guys. Is that cuckolding?
Right? I don't know it's like, that's his thing, right?
Yeah.
Some
guys have that kink. They want to watch,
yes.
or people. Some people like to watch their romantic partner fucking
yes.
someone else.
Fine.
Do you?
You do you, man. So, but you don't film people without their knowledge.
Right.
So he gets his little video camera, makes his film, puts it on a DVD, marks it, literally writes Hogan on it, puts it in a drawer in the desk. Bubba and Heather would later divorce, by the way. So, like,
aww.
They
True
clearly
love doesn't
weren't
exist, Sonia.
I know. Boo. So 6 years after after the sex tape is filmed, somehow Gawker editor AJ Delario, I think that's how you pronounce it, gets the footage. I don't know. Gee, how would he possibly get that?
Gawker was a website, and there was also Jezebel, and maybe, I think, is Gizmodo a part of it too?
Yeah, they were all a part of like a Gawker media company.
Right.
Yeah.
And Gawker was very kind of New York media, very snarky. And they would talk about people. This person has some, revenge porn pictures, what we call now revenge porn pictures. They don't want you to see this. And then they would show it. And it was different people. And that shit I don't appreciate at all. So I'm not on Gawker's side with this.
No, it's gross. So they published like 2 minutes of the video on their website. I never watched it, because if I'm going to watch porn, I want it to turn me on, not make me sick. So I didn't watch it, but I'm sure a lot of people did. So Hogan sues Gawker, and he gets some financial help to file this lawsuit by Peter Thiel, who we have a whole episode on. He's a big Silicon Valley like billionaire, co-funded PayPal.
Mm-hmm.
He invests in this because he is mad at Gawker for like publishing a story about him being gay, and he was looking for revenge.
Right, and they would out people too.
Yes,
and what they would do with a tone of like, this isn't bad at all. We're totally okay with, people being gay. But then they would like write this language that was very fiery and whatever. And they would say, this man is having sex with this person. And these are their pictures, their office pictures that they have, their office ID pictures. Yeah. And then like, this is the hotel they were at, and blah, blah, blah. And not even think for a second, like, that other person is a private person. That other person has a family. They're going to be, anyway, I'm talking. This is
how we get. Something like Gawker is how you get to TMZ.
Right.
Like,
they crawled so TMZ could get in a bulldozer and kill us all.
Exactly. And I think, if I remember correctly, Gawker's whole thing was Peter Thiel was investing in like causes that hurt gay people.
Right.
Like, and they're like, you're a gay person. What are you doing? And he's like, I don't like that. So he gets in on this lawsuit, and it works. Like, he gets his money's worth, right? Because the jury rules in favor of Hulk Hogan. He gets like $115 million in damages, $60 million for emotional distress. It's a shit ton of money. Now, stay with me here, because during this trial, like, the sex tape is admitted into evidence, and there's a transcription from the sex tape and all this stuff. And in July 2015, the National Enquirer and the website Radar Online run articles about the racist rant that Hogan does on the sex tape. Like, they don't.
He's doing
show
that when
clips.
he's sleeping with somebody?
Like, yeah, like he's like talking to her beforehand, where he's like, and he's like really just, he's expressing how disgusted he is that Brooke is dating a black man. He drops the N-bomb multiple times.
Did he just see The Sopranos? That's a very similar story. Meadow Soprano, remember?
Maybe he is. Maybe he's a... Don't sue us. Maybe he isn't. He even says in the video, like, I'm racist to a point, which is also known as being racist.
Yeah, racist then.
He also used a bunch of homophobic slurs in the sex tape. And then after that came out, like a couple of days later, it turned out that when he was visiting Nick in prison, those phone calls are recorded, and he dropped the N-bomb multiple times in there and hoped that his son wasn't going to be in prison with any black men, and using the N-word and all this stuff. So gross. So despite admitting that he's racist to a point, Hogan quickly releases a statement that's like, that he's wrong and he apologized and those words don't align with his values.
The words that you use don't align with your values.
Yes.
In a private conversation that you don't know is being recorded. Okay.
Yes. Right. Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, and even with that totally heartfelt apology, the WWE's like, no, thank you. And they terminated his contract and they remove him from like the website, the Hall of Fame. They remove his merchandise, like everything was gone. Don't worry, it's all back. It's all back, y'all, because cancel culture is not a thing. Like by 2018, all that shit was back on the website for purchase. Like, it doesn't matter. But other businesses also were like, no, thank you. So like his action figures were taken, all of his various merchandise removed from like Target, Toys R Us, Walmart. No, thank you. So after he wins his case against Gawker and getting almost $150 million from it,
wow,
he filed another lawsuit against Gawker for leaking the sealed court documents to the National Enquirer and Radar Online that outed him as a homophobe and a racist. And he won that one too.
Wow.
And that's what put Gawker out of business. So
wow,
he got another $30 million in cash.
Wow.
From that. Yeah. And that puts Gawker out of business. But it wasn't very long after that, Hogan is now like, he has his lavish lifestyle and everything in his divorce and all of that. It like nearly bankrupted him. So like, there goes a lot of his money, But, saying racist and homophobic things doesn't get you kicked out of show business, as we know, because then we wouldn't have a podcast. So he was back on TV. Yep. He showed up on American Idol. He uses his name for video games, his image, his name are in video games. And because he's a racist who loves other racists, he's a big supporter of Predator Trump, which means he gets to appear on Fox News and with the other washed up showbiz types like the Scott Bayos.
I was just going to say Baywatch.
Yeah, Baywatch. And Kevin Sorbo, Hollywood's brightest stars.
The real think tank there.
He was on Fox News just last year sharing his thoughts about gender roles, because who doesn't want that from Hulk Hogan? And I could do my Hulk Hogan impression. It's like, well, brother, at the end of the day, there's a chain of command. Our Lord and Savior, the wife and the husband and the kids. And at the end of the day, the mother is to nourish, but the man is to protect and serve and provide. Okay. Sure,
Grandpa.
Yeah. Time for your meds, Grandpa. He spoke at the Nazi Palooza rally that Trump held at the Madison Square Garden.
Oh, right.
He did the whole I don't see any stinking terrorists here. I only see a bunch of hardworking men and women, the real Americans, brother. And then he tried to rip his shirt, but it fucking didn't work for him, so it looked like he was like really struggling to rip his shirt off. He also said a bunch of shit about Vice President Harris's like race, and
Of course he did.
Yeah, and then so most recently he's on Raw, like a wrestling event on Netflix. It's like their hard launch of their new wrestling's going to be on Netflix. And they bring out Hulk Hogan and everyone boos, and they boo him so hard that I heard it and I wasn't even watching it. That's how like they're like booing him, like they just hate his fucking guts. Like, and he comes on because he wants to promote his Real American Beer brand. That's the name of his beer brand, Real American Beer.
Oh, for God's sakes. So who's the real American? I don't even want to know.
I hate when people talk about like, who's a real American? I would be embarrassed to drink that. And I drank Zima back in the day. Like, gross. So he gets booed. He hates that, obviously. The wrestling people don't love that either because they thought it would be this big nostalgia thing. Like, we're going to bring out Hulk Hogan, and everyone's like, fuck that guy. Boo. And then actor Dave Bautista, who is in like Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which he's so good in.
So
and
great.
He, like, what was the other one? Not Cabin in the Woods. It was like, he did a really scary one last year that was really good. Something about a cabin in the woods. Anyway, he's very good. And an overall delight. You should follow him on social media. He rescues pit bulls. It's delightful. Anyway, he posted something on social media that was like, hey, I'm glad that like wrestling fans did the right thing. Like, good on you kind of thing. And Hulk Hogan responded, is this irrelevant man still talking about me? I'm like, yes, he's
an actual movie star.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, you're a washed up former wrestler / actor / spokesperson who just got booed off, but go off, loser. Like, whatever. So I'm going to wrap it up with this. Hulk Hogan is such a liar, a notorious liar, that there's a section of his Wikipedia that's just for his lies. And I think that's worth calling out. So multiple times, Hulk Hogan claimed that he was one of the last few people to see Kerry Von Erich before his death. Is that how you pronounce his name? The guy from the Iron Claw.
What's the Iron Claw?
The wrestling movie with Zac Efron.
Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't seen that one yet. Everybody tells me it's really good. I should see it. I just haven't seen it yet. Sorry.
Okay, first of all, it is really, really good, but it is very, very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Very sad. I thought I was going to see a fun wrestling movie. LOL. I was not prepared.
That's like Muriel's Wedding. You think it's going to be about two girls that hang out in Australia. That's fun.
I saw it. I sobbed. And at one point I actually said out loud, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, 'cause it's like not prepared. So anyway, it's a terrible lie. What else did he do? He claims that he was scouted by Major League Baseball, but he suffered an elbow injury.
Sure
and
did.
That's why, that never happened.
Major
he claimed
League
that
Baseball.
He played.
Okay.
Yes, he claimed that he played in the Little League World Series when he was a kid with a batting average of .714. That's a really good batting average. The Little League Baseball's like, no, he never played at those events. He claimed that Elvis Presley was a big fan of his, but Elvis Presley died 2 years before Hulk Hogan ever made his appearance. He claimed that the Rolling Stones and Metallica have asked him to play bass for their bands. LOL. He said that Andre the Giant weighed over 600 pounds when they wrestled. That's not true. He claims he was offered the starring role in the film The Wrestler, but he turned it down.
The Nicolas Cage one?
No, the one with Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke, that's what I'm thinking of. Right.
Yes. And also, he once claimed to have a 10-inch penis, but during the Gawker trial, he had to admit that that wasn't true. And that when he said that, he was speaking as the character Hulk Hogan and not as his real person, Terry Bollea. So Sorry, ladies, only Hulk Hogan has a 10-inch penis.
Terry is a grower, not a shower.
And that is our creep, Hulk Hogan.
Good job, Sonia.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's a bit of a turd there.
Blech. A turd. That's it. What a turd.
What a
Listen
turd.
to our
sister podcast.
spinoff. What a turd.
Well, we always end the show with somebody who is not a creep, but when something like what's happening right now with the Los Angeles fires, Sonia and I like to talk about, you feel really helpless when things like this happen. And we both feel like when you're feeling vulnerable, be of service. That's like the best way that you can feel like you're actually doing something. You could feel whatever. So I was following somebody on Blue Sky, and I'm going to bring her up right now. And she listed a bunch of her, Susan L. She's part of the Harris Walls team, I think.
Oh, okay.
But she lives in Southern California. So she listed in no particular order a bunch of organizations. So I'm going to bring them up for you now. So there's World Central Kitchen.
Yes.
They're
always a good one.
That's always a good one. So, and there's the links are in our show notes, but they're providing they have a relief team of responders in Southern California for the wildfires. And the wildfires, like we're saying, they're just hopping around because of the wind right now. This is just completely terrifying. We have Pasadena Community Foundation, which is it's been in there. Let me bring this up. It was established in 1953. It's a tax exempt public charity created for and by the people of Pasadena. So if they can help you out there. We have Los Angeles Regional Food Bank. They're always looking for donations. We have one here for the California Fire Foundation. There's also the Red Cross of Southern California Wildfires has their own little tab on their site. There's also the California Wildlife Center because unfortunately we have so many animals out there. I mean, that's just the most upsetting thing that we're left behind.
Oh, I've seen some footage too of some of the wild animals running into the cities.
Yes, because they don't know what to do.
Awful.
They're terrified.
Yeah, it's awful.
And then there's a link here, and this is through Act Blue. You could split your donation for the Los Angeles Fire Department Foundation, the United Way of Greater Los Angeles, and the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank there. We have all of these links in our show notes.
There's another one I want to throw in there too, and I'll throw the link in there too, is for the Pasadena Humane Society.
Oh, please.
They've taken in a lot of the other humane societies' animals, and they are overrun. And they are asking for any and all donations and help to help with all the additional animals they've taken on.
I'm sure there's going to be a foster situation going on. They're going to need people to help bring in these poor animals.
Yeah.
I don't think like deers and like, raccoons or anything like that. I think they'd be dogs and kittens.
I would love to take in some raccoons and possums, but I don't think Max and Toby would approve it. But
your son would think it was awesome.
I know. He would be like, this is amazing. It's the best day of my life.
But those are
in his room.
Those are places you can go, to do that. And
yes,
we encourage reach out to anybody that's out there. People, you live in Northern California. You've had a bunch of fire occurrences there where there's like a whole town that goes away.
Yeah, all of Paradise got completely wiped out a couple years ago. It is so awful. And I know that we have a lot of listeners down there. I have a lot of friends and family down there. And if you know people there, just check in.
Yeah.
Just make sure that they're okay. And some people don't want to ask for help and
they're proud.
Just put yourself out there and ask, do you need help? Are you okay?
Yeah. I think Bethany Frankel from Real Housewives, for her Be Strong Foundation, she's sending out gift cards, cash cards. They're like, a credit card, but it's got cash. I don't have credit cards, gift cards.
Yeah.
But they're giving that to people. So if you need like a couple of $100, like to just get some diapers and whatever, they're bringing it out there. We were talking off the air, like some of the really shitty takes that are going on right now. First of all, they're politicizing this and blaming Gavin Newsom. I mean, the woman that was following Gavin Newsom, like, my daughter's school burned down. Are you going to fix it? He's like, yeah, I'm calling the president right now. Well, can I talk to him too? Because he's like, yeah, bye. I got a thing going on.
Yeah.
But people are also saying things like, oh, these millionaires lost their big house. Wah, wah, wah. Please remember, there are all kinds of people that live there and work there, and most of them are middle class.
Yes.
And their home is their big equity in their lives, and it's also their fucking home. And
These
losing your
aren't
home
all-
is terrible.
These aren't all like famous movie stars and
Right.
millionaires. There are people who work in the restaurants, work in different service industries there. Probably some of these firefighters, the teachers, like all of these people. And it's not just, oh, they lost their furniture or whatever.
Right.
Like they're losing everything, like, and all their all those memories and their photo albums and their like all the birthday cards they've saved from their grandma or whatever.
Right.
Like it's absolutely awful. And to pretend that, I don't know, that they somehow deserve it.
Right.
Or,
because there's gay marriage.
Yeah. Like, it's just fucking bullshit and it's awful. And I know that a lot of our politicians like to pretend that climate change isn't real, but we're seeing that it's literally changing. It's snowing in Atlanta today. It never snows in Atlanta.
Right.
Like
and the planet is at the hottest this year than it's been in many, many years. And you could look at like what the storms were like 100 years ago versus now. And even just the last 30 years, how much it's changed.
Yeah.
Which I think Al Gore mentioned, I think.
Yeah. There was like a whole movie about it. You could watch a whole documentary. But all these people are going to lose all of their stuff. And then on top of that, like a lot of insurance companies are going to find reasons to not pay out.
Right.
So it's going to be really, really shitty. And again, we just need to take care of each other. So try to be kind.
Lead with kindness if you can.
Please.
Or just shut your mouth.
Or just shut your filthy mouth, brother.
That's our show today. We'll be back next week with a new episode. And if you like the sound of our voices, and by golly, if you've listened this long, you do like the sound of our voices.
Yeah.
We co-host a show called Dorking Out, where Sonia and I dork out about movies and movies we love. And there's also sometimes we do movies we love to make fun of. And then you and I, we have our favorite category, which is Margot and Sonia Ruin Your Childhood. Where we talk about a beloved film like St. Elmo's Fire. That's one of our famous ones.
Yes.
And we torch it for what it is.
Yeah.
What are we covering next, Sonia?
Yeah. I take no pleasure in this one, but we are going to talk about 16 Candles.
It's time.
It's time. We've put it off long enough. It's time to talk about it. So we're going to talk about it. And I think it's going to be pretty epic.
I think we're going to have a good time with that one.
I think so too.
Remember, you can
check that out.
Check that out. And remember, you can send us your suggestions and all those places I mentioned at the top of the show, the social media wise. Email will always be there. We could tell you that. We got that much for you. whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And thank you all of you that have been asking for stickers. I'll definitely try to get those out to you. If not next week, I'll get it out to you next week. Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Blue Sky and Threads and Instagram. And the TikTok for as long as that's a thing.
That might be going too. I know.
Yeah. So, but my website will always be there. So if you want to find me, thesoniashow.com, Sonia with an I. Where can people find you, my friend?
I'm at brooklynfitchick.com. I'm at brooklynfitchick for Threads and Instagram. We'll see how long that goes. I'm at Brooklyn Margot with Blue Sky and also for the TikTok as long as that happens. And then my YouTube is at my name, Margot Donahue. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, be safe, be kind. Don't be a creep.
Be a creep, brother. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.